ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Please repeat.
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण
कृष्णं
पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः
पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः
हृदयन्तस्तो हि अभद्राणि धुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिधि नमिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशताम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम राम राम। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम राम। Okay, where did we stop last week?
4.9.
4.9?
Yeah.
Okay. We finished 4.9, right?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Okay, so qualities of Shuka Goswami, Shukadev Goswami, qualities of Maharaj Parikshit was given. So we're going to continue now. It's again Shaunakadi Rishis are asking Suta Goswami, and Suta Goswami is now glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. Sa samrat kasya va heto
सा सम्राट कस्य वाहेतो
Pandunam manavardhanaha
पाण्डूनां मानवर्धना
प्रायोपविष्टो गंगायां
प्रायोपप्रविष्टो गंगायाम्
अनादृत्याधिराज श्रियम्
anadrittadhirashtriyam shriyam.
Okay, so he was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? So one more question by Shaunak Rishi. He was such a great emperor. So later on you will find in the next few chapters ahead, you will find the qualities of Maharaj Parikshit and also what is the symptoms of a great emperor. So the symptoms of the great emperor is that there is no disease in the kingdom. No diseases at all in the kingdom. Nobody had any mental agony because all the necessities of life was easily available to them. Food, clothing, shelter. The crops were abundant. The cows gave abundant milk. Prithvi gave all its jewels. There was no untimely death. People only died of old age. And there was proper varnashram system, which means that brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. So there was also renunciation at the right time. So these are all signs that the emperor is great and pious. So if all these are not there, if there are problems, you will also see that once Krishna left the earth, there were symptoms of, there were ill or bad signs like extreme cold, extreme heat, all those were happening because Krishna left. But of course, the signs of a great emperor is that the kingdom has all these qualities. And if there is this, that means the leader is pious and he possesses all these qualities of, so that there is opulence in the kingdom. So when he had everything, when Parikshit had everything, when he was so exalted, because he was exalted right from birth, even from the womb he was exalted, because no one gets the darshan of the Lord so easily, nor does the Lord himself protect. Lord not only protected him in the womb, Lord happily stayed in the home of the Pandus, like it was his own home. And he was increasing the prestige of Pandu dynasty. Pandu himself was exalted. Over and above that, Yudhishthir and the 5 brothers were exalted. Now he was increasing the prestige. So what was the reason? Because Parikshit was very young at this time, very young. So it was not time for him to take renunciation. Vanaprastha and sannyas was not yet. He was still a grihastha and he was very young. So Shaunak's question was, why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of Ganges and fast till death? This is very astonishing. So everybody was eager to know the cause. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanaha. Someone?
Namanti yatpadaniketan matmanah
Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha.
Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravah
Katam savira shriyam mangadustyajam.
Katham savirah. Mataji, can you repeat this? Shriya Mangat.
Katham saviraha shriyam angadustyajam.
Katham savirah shriyam mangadustyajam.
Yuve shatotsrashtum aho sahasubhihi.
Yuveshatotsatrashtu mahosahasubhihi.
Yeah, that was quite a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. Such a great emperor. Enemies would come and bow down and surrender for whose benefit? For their own benefit, because then Parikshit would protect them, take care of them. He was full of youth and strength. Youth itself is strength, right? Youth itself, when you see the youth, they are so strong. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. When you're the king of the entire world, when you have all the luxuries in life, it's so difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Not only gave up the opulences, but he was giving up his life also. He had nothing undesirable in life. He had everything. People were coming and bowing at his feet. He was he had all the wealth in this world. He had conquered his enemies. His kingdom was full of prosperity. He was the richest. Everything was so perfect. So Shaunak Rishi is asking, why then did he give up not only that, but he was giving up his life also. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye
Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye
ya uttama shloka parayana janaha
ya uttama shloka parayana janaha
jivanti natmarthamasau parashrayam
jivanti natmathamasau parashrayam
mumocha nirvidya kuta kalevaram.
mumocha nirvidya kutah kalevaram.
Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. Here the Lord is again called Uttama Shloka Parayana. Yeah, so Uttama Shloka is the Lord, and when you're devoted to him, you're Parayana. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was the shelter for others? So those who are devoted to the cause for the others, their welfare, their development and happiness, everybody was dependent on Maharaj Parikshit. Everybody came and took shelter in him. That's why the whole kingdom was so prosperous. So how could he, even if he was renounced and he did not care for any material possessions, but then how could he give up his body? Because through that body, he was the shelter for so many people. And he also, we know that he stopped Kali, right? So when that was it, then how could he give up his body? How could he do this when he was the shelter for so many people? He was the devotee of the Lord, so he was conducting everything according to the scriptures. He was very pious. He would never allow someone else to be killed. He would never allow his interest over others' interests. Everything was done according to the Brahmanas and the rishis, under their guidance. So there was ample food, ample milk, like I said, ample everything. Prithvi was giving everything, along with crops, along with rivers, water, and jewels, and everything. Everyone was satisfied. So while all this was happening and there was happy rain, his reign was so very good. If he gave up his body, there is no guarantee that the next king would be the same, right? So why did he want to give up his body? Tat sarvam naha samachakshva
Tat sarvam na samachakshah
prishto yad iha kinchana
prishto yad iha kinchana
Manye tvam vishaye vacham
Manye tvam vishaye vacham
snatam anyatra chandasat.
snatam anyatra chandasat.
Translation: We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portion of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. So the difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Paribrajakas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajakacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. So when you hear the Prem Dhwani, we always chant Namo Vishnupada Parivrajakacarya Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada. Parivrajakacarya Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada. So our acharyas are Parivrajakacharyas. They are Vaishnavas, they are not Brahmanas who administer all these Vedic mantras for fruitive sacrifices. Or they come and they do havans, like all the Brahmanas come and do all the havans. So there is a fruitive end to it, right? So that is the role of a Brahmana. But Parivrajakacharyas are only meant to give you transcendental knowledge. So you won't see that Srila Prabhupada, he gave us something higher. There is no fruitive action, or there is no desire to get some fruitive result when we are doing some yajna. It is all meant only for transcendental knowledge or for bhakti. So those are called Parivrajakacharyas. So what he's meaning over here is, except some portion of the Vedas, is that Suta Goswami was a Parivrajakacarya. Doesn't mean that a Brahmana is lower or Parivrajakacarya is higher. No, they are one and different. They are one and the same. Why? Because through those who are ready for only karma, jnana, or those kind of things, systematically you will in the end want to link with the Lord. Following Vedic injunctions systematically brings you to link with the Lord, if you follow exactly according to the Vedas. Of course, it has a fruitive reaction in the end. It is not completely bhakti. We all know that bhakti is the topmost in the ladder. So this is the difference in what he's doing. You are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions. That means that Suta Goswami was a Parivrajakacarya. There is no difference between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasas. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyadina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. So when Lord Brahma went searching for the Lord, and the Lord played his flute, and that entered the ears of Lord Brahma, and from his mouth came out the Om sound and all the Vedic literature. So that flute sound which went into the ears of Brahma was the jnana, was the knowledge of all the Vedas, which then later Vyasadeva did into 4. So all these basically originally emanated from the breathing of the Supreme Lord. So there is no difference in any of these things. The only difference is that The Vedic mantras are mostly begun with a pranava omkar. Like everything starts with om. And you have to have a lot of training. That's why children were sent at a very young age to Gurukuls, and they would memorize the meter and the pronunciation, because a little bit here and there, the whole meaning of that mantra goes for a toss. But that does not mean that Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. Actually, it is the contrary, because it is the ripened fruit of the Vedas. So therefore, it is Amala Purana. It is completely spotless. And because it is the essence of the Vedas, it contains only transcendental matters about the Lord and his devotees. Therefore, we, along with our sampradaya, our acharyas in the lineage, like Shukadev Goswami, we all have to be absorbed in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, because we don't need the other Vedas. Shukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami and all, they were not expert in chanting the Vedic mantras like the Brahmanas, with the meter and the pronunciation and practice and everything. That is completely like you have to memorize it, and it's like parroting. You just memorize it and then you say it in a particular meter. Here we are not talking about those. We are only focusing on what Suta Goswami and Shukadev Goswami, who are both absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam. So therefore, we also have to be absorbed in that. We don't need anything else. So our basic, in our Sampradaya, what is our basic book? Everything is the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can you tell me what is common in all these three? Are they the same? Are they different? Do you have to do all three, or is one enough?
All three
Do all three.
includes Krishna.
What will happen if you don't do one?
Reading Bhagavatam is like a graduation. Bhagavad Gita is like a graduation. Reading Bhagavatam is like a post-graduation. And reading Chaitanya Charitamrita is like a master's. So we have to read all three books.
Okay, that is what in one of the conversations Srila Prabhupada said. But what happened? Is there anything wrong in jumping and reading Chaitanya Charitamrita before you do Bhagavatam? A lot of people do read Chaitanya Charitamrita. What do you think? What is your opinion? Just unmute and please speak. There's no right or wrong
Hare
answer.
Krishna. I don't think so, because it has to go in the sequence, I feel, because Bhagavad Gita, that's the first step, and after that the understanding of Bhagavatam gets better if we know Bhagavad Gita. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita, I actually don't, so I'm assuming that it's one level more advanced. So it's a step-by-step process. It is like going to step 3 without understanding step 1.
Okay, fair enough. Everybody agrees with her. Do we have any contrary, someone contradicting her statement? If no one says yes, then we all agree with her. Yeah, everyone agrees with her. No one has their own opinion.
No, I have one opinion. You know what? It said that you should read first Bhagavad Gita and then Bhagavatam and then Chaitanya Amrit. But I found that after reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita got more clearer, because a lot of information was given in Srimad Bhagavatam, which helped me to understand Bhagavad Gita better. This is my personal opinion.
Okay, very nice, wonderful. Anyone else? Similar or a different experience?
Mataji, I have seen many that Bhagavad Gita to puri pad lete hai, but once they start understanding Bhagavatam little, they start Chaitanya Charitamrita as
well. So what are you saying? They shouldn't, or should they?
They should do it, because with that your bhakti process get more stronger. If we learn Chaitanya Charitamrita as well.
As well, yes. What I'm asking is there any sequence? What will happen if you say, no, I want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Means you meant to ask ki instead of Bhagavatam, I would directly write to learn Chaitanya Charitamrita, like that?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, that's my
you
question.
you must learn Bhagavatam. Start learning Bhagavatam first and
Hmm.
understand this question answers, why the Parikshit Maharaj is been doing this. So you
Hmm.
can understand bhakti basically.
Hmm.
And then Chaitanya Charitamrita is like, as I said, so not I, as Srila Prabhupada said in one of his lectures, that is like a post-graduation. So you must have some of the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam as well.
Hmm.
So you can't skip Bhagavatam and directly go to Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So what if you do it simultaneously then?
Yes, simultaneous we can do.
Hmm.
It definitely helps us to increase more and more our sadhana. Bhakti ko janna, it's become easy if you do both together. That's
Nice.
what I feel.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I appreciate your thought. Very nice. Anyone else? No, others don't have any opinion. They like, chalo, kuch bhi de do, pad lenge. Is it like that? Okay, so the thing is, when I also started in the beginning, everybody was like, Srila Prabhupada said Bhagavad Gita is graduate, and then postgraduate is Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita is like PhD, you know. But now after doing all three, and even not only me, so this is one of the statements which Srila Prabhupada said. It is not the one and only statement he said. It is one of the statements he said. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that if everything is destroyed in this world, all the books are destroyed, even Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, but only Chaitanya Charitamrita is there, then nothing is lost. I mean, why would he say that? Then he should have said Bhagavad Gita, or he should have said Bhagavatam. Why straight to PhD? So the reason is that they are all three about the absolute truth, and they are all three similar. They are all the same as well as different. You understand? So there is no harm in going to Chaitanya Charitamrita first, because most of the verses in it contains from Bhagavatam. All the philosophy is from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And it is completely about bhakti. Completely. Yes, you need a little bit of foundation, knowing Krishna, about Krishna from the 7th chapter and the 12th chapter and all that. Yes, I'm not saying that Bhagavad Gita is not needed. But like Neha said, a lot of things become clearer when you do Bhagavatam, and a lot more becomes clearer when you do Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhagavad Gita is meant for you to start off somewhere. But bhakti will come only when you do Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is no difference between Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why? Because what is Bhagavatam? What is Bhagavatam?
It's a glorification of Krishna.
And what is Chaitanya Charitamrita? Glorification of Krishna as Chaitanya. Both are the same. And you will see that all the pastimes which Krishna had in the Krishna Leela will have the similar pastimes in the Chaitanya Leela. Same things will happen. The dhobi from there will be a dhobi over here. Same thing is happening here. Same thing is happening there. He is stealing from here. He is stealing from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is stealing. Krishna is stealing. So philosophy is completely there in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Bhagavatam, of course, is very, very deep study. What I'm saying is now all of you have come to a stage where you have come above primary level, right? You learn the ABCs, you learn the primary level. you all are doing Bhagavatam, you should somehow simultaneously try and read Chaitanya Charitamrita on your own. And you will see that so much of Bhagavatam is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And because the language is also much simpler, and Srila Prabhupada's purports are, if you think that Prabhupada's purports in Bhagavatam is good, you will drown in his purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So much nectar. So don't waste time, because if you're going to do a few verses a week, 1 week for Bhagavatam, I don't know when we'll finish Bhagavatam and when you will start Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you should simultaneously, okay, this in-depth study is going on, but you should have your own swadhyay. You should be studying Bhagavatam on your own, Chaitanya Charitamrita on your own. And if you have questions, you can always reach out. There are so many people to reach out to. Yes, Veggie, you have a question.
Yeah, the first question I had was, what is the sequence in which Prabhupada wrote these books? Did he write, any particular order in which he had, written these books? Or was it Bhagavad Gita first, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita after that? That was one question. And the second question that I had was, I've read and heard periodically that what happens is people actually, when they're reading Bhagavatam, in fact, when I started, the first thing was people actually jump into the 10th canto. And you can't do that. You have to go in the sequence to actually understand, what the 10th canto is. So that is why, I felt, it is like that order. At least Bhagavad Gita and then Bhagavatam, becomes a little bit important. And would appreciate your,
Yeah. So the
comments on
first
that.
question about the sequence in which Srila Prabhupada wrote was, he started writing first the magazines, the Back to Godhead magazines, and then a lot of essays which became the small Prabhupada books, which were taken from his essays. And of course, he did translate the Bhagavad Gita first and the first 2 cantos of Bhagavatam. Now, the rest of the Bhagavatam he did later on when he went to the US and he had people, he had the dictaphone and everything. He kept on recording and translating, and then later on the disciples printed it out. Then he realized in 1975, because I'm just doing Chaitanya Charitamrita now. So, I was given the task of doing the entire Adi Leela. So what happened was that he wanted, in 1975, he wanted to completely, he said that people will become devotees only if they read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And if there was, there would be no problem in the movement, or there will be no problem in preaching if Chaitanya Charitamrita was printed. So he took 18 months and he translated the Adi, Madhya and Antya, full Chaitanya Charitamrita. In 18 months, he did not sleep. He reduced his sleep to only 2.5 to 3 hours. And in 18 months, he did everything and gave it. And he told his disciples, I want the books printed in 2 months, which was impossible in those times. He said, this was 1973 to 74. In 18 months, he translated everything. And he said that his writing time for Chaitanya Charitamrita used to be 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the night. And he did that because he knew that without Chaitanya Charitamrita, no one will become pure devotees. So then he told his disciples that I have done my work. Now I want you to complete everything. And within 2 months, in 2 months' time, I want all the books printed. So the race was on. There was a frantic effort to meet the deadline, to satisfy Srila Prabhupada. The devotees just entered into a marathon. And they were taking time only to attend Mangala Aarti and chanting 16 rounds whenever possible. They were just had enough time to have 1 meal a day. People were working right through the clock, and they were having shift systems. In fact, even artists who were painting, they used to, in between the painting, in the middle of the night, they would fall asleep because they were so tired, and then the next artist would take over from part of that. So they were working around the clock, and what was their motto? What was their thinking? Their consciousness was, when the spiritual master gives an order, a disciple does not modify the order, he modifies his life. So they were not eating, they were not sleeping. And then in 21st August 1975, 2 months were over, and the 17th volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita was off the printer. 2 months, they did it. It was the occasion of Lord Balaram's appearance day. On that day, when they got the 17th volume, because Chaitanya Charitamrita is in 17 volumes. And they sent him a message and they said, by your mercy, your divine order is done. And Srila Prabhupada was, then one person went, because all this was happening in US. So one devotee went with the 17 volumes and went to Krishna Balram temple because Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. 1975 August we're talking about. And 1975 is when he left his body, right? Srila Prabhupada was so excited when the devotees from Los Angeles came. He went through each and every volume, page to page, picture to picture. He was placing each book on his head. He was honoring it. He said, my Guru's order has been done, and now people will be Krishna conscious. So these are the 3 books we have to be totally, committed to completing in this lifetime, reading it. If you do it even once, of course, if you do it once, you will never leave it. You will keep doing it again and again. So that's the thing. So that was the sequence. Then your second question about, yes, Srila Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book, which is completely the 10th canto. He never said, don't read my Krishna book. He said, read my Krishna book. But why did he discourage people from jumping to the 10th canto is that when you go from the first canto in the sequence, by the time you come to the 10th canto, which is Ashraya. So there are 10 subjects in the Bhagavatam, starting from creation, sub-creation, So when you read it in order, when you understand the greatness, you will surrender. And when you come to the 10th canto, and when you understand his sweetness, that's when you will have the Madhurya Bhav, the sweetness. So you will, till that time you will be in Aishwarya. Before you surrender, if you are thinking that you are in loving relationship with Krishna, then it is only on the bodily platform. It is not in the soul platform. So to understand the sweetness, so what happens, generally what happens, I have seen, that we talk about the pastimes of Krishna as a baby and we think he's a baby. Oh my baby, oh my baby Krishna, and then you laugh at his pastimes. But you don't understand that Krishna who's a baby is the supreme personality, because you've gone straight to the 10th canto. You don't understand how the Lord even created all the universes, his Mahapurusha, the Purusha avatars, how he came as Varaha, how he came as Narsimha, how he came, and then he came in the baby form. So there is a chance of being complacent with your relationship with Krishna. So unless and until you don't understand the Aishwarya Bhav and you don't surrender, when there is surrender in the 9 cantos, then in the 10th canto, when you take Ashraya, then you will not have any inclination for material desires. Otherwise, that same baby Krishna, people say, oh, my baby, mera Lala, my Bal Gopal, I'm my Vatsalya Bhav. If you're in the Vatsalya Bhav as a mother with your Lala, your Bal Gopal, will you go and say, Bal Gopal, please, mera sab theek kar do? You're not going to go to your child and ask your child to, fix the problems in your life, because children don't know what to do. So to come to the stage of Madhurya, you have to go through Aishwarya. That's why. And the same thing is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The first few chapters of Adi Leela, the first, I think, 12, 13, 14 chapters, 13 chapters only talks about philosophy from Bhagavatam. And then they start, once it's established who is Chaitanya and who was Krishna, then they start the Leelas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give you bhakti, prema bhakti, which no one else can give. If you were born in Dwapar Yuga, you would not have got prema bhakti. There's no way you would have got prema bhakti, because only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has the authority to distribute prema bhakti. So you're very, very lucky to be born in this Kali Yuga. So that's why they say don't go to 10th first. Doesn't mean that you don't have to study the 10th. When it's Govardhan Puja, don't we read chapters from the 10th? Or when it's other things, we do read the Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada, in fact, what did he recommend? He said that every night go to bed with a glass of milk and my Krishna book. Read one chapter before you sleep, so that you get lovely dreams about Krishna. And then when you wake up, your chanting is better. So there is no hard and fast rule. It is just meant to deter people jumping into intimate or topics which they have no authority to understand. That is the only reason why Srila Prabhupada said this. But if you ask me, you should be reading Bhagavatam on a daily basis. You should at least read half a chapter every day. You should be reading Chaitanya Charitamrita every day. You should have already finished Bhagavad Gita. If you haven't, you can. But all these are there in all three books. They are non-different from each other. Yeah? Does that answer your question, Vaji?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so let's move on. Sutta Vacha Dvapare Samanu Prapte Tritiye Yuge Paryaye Jata Parasharad Yogi Vasavyam Kalaya Hare. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashar in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu. Oops, what did I do? Okay. So there is a chronological order of the 4 millenniums. Satya, Dwapar, Treta and Kali. But sometimes there is an overlapping. So during the regime of Vaivasvata Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the 4 millenniums, and the 3rd millennium appeared prior to the 2nd. So this is important to understand. The actual sequence is that first Satya Yuga, then Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, and then Kali Yuga. But only in this 28th Divya Yuga, Treta came before Dwapar. Anyone knows the story behind this? And it was in this millennium that Krishna also descends as Vyasadeva, the son of Satyavati and Parashar Muni. Yes. All other Divya Yugas, it is Satya. Dwapar means, Dwa means 2, second. So second millennium is Dwapar. Treta, third is Treta, and Kali is the 4th. But only in this Divya Yuga, Treta came before Dwapar. Otherwise, all the times, Dwapar is always before Treta. And it is in this Dwapar, at the end, that Krishna comes, Swayam Bhagwan himself. Yes. Understood? Any questions?
Mataji, I didn't understand how Treta comes in this Kali Yuga. Can you be little bit explain on this?
So basically, in all the Yuga cycles, it is
Hmm.
Satya, Dwapar, Treta and Kali. That is how
Right.
it's the sequence.
Hmm.
But it is only in this Divya Yuga, Vaivaswata Manu's 28th Divya Yuga, this one, which we are in now, that it is first Satya Yuga came, then instead of Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga came. And then Dwapar Yuga followed, and then Kali Yuga.
Yeah, but why so?
Why so? Okay, so there is a story behind it. We all know about the story about Lord Ram touching the stone and liberating whom?
Ahilya.
Yes. So now, we know Ahalya was cursed by her husband to become a stone. But then whenever there is a curse, there is always a benediction. So he said that, okay, don't worry. When Lord Ram comes, then, he will liberate you. He will put his lotus feet on you and he will liberate you. So Ahalya started crying. So he said, why are you crying? I've given you such a great benediction. He said, but Lord Ram will come in Treta Yuga. We are in Satya Yuga. He's going to come in Treta Yuga. It's so long, so much later. He said, okay. Now all these great munis and all are capable of controlling time. So he said, okay. Treta will come first and then Dwapar will come. So for Ahalya, Treta came first. And then Lord Ram came first and then liberated her. So Treta came before Dwapar, and at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna came Swayam Bhagwan as himself. Because only once in the day of Lord Brahma, Krishna comes himself, right? And that is at the end of Dwapar Yuga. So such great personalities that time was changed and Treta came before Dwapar so that Lord Ram could liberate Ahalya. So that was the reason. Yeah, got it?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
So in this, Krishna comes as, so Vyasadeva, as we learned in the 3rd chapter, is the Shaktiavesh avatar, correct? But here, this particular Vyasadeva, in this particular Dwapar Yuga, coming in the 28th cycle of Vaivaswata Manu, is Krishna himself. Krishna came as Vyasadeva. So he was born to Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, and Parashar Muni. So Vyasadeva appeared in the 3rd Sandhya of that particular age. Okay. So Suta Goswami is talking about the appearance of Vyasadeva. So to come to Shukadeva, we first have to go to the father. Right? Sakadachit sarasvatya upasprishya jalam shuchihi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale. Once upon a time he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. So the Saraswati is flowing in Badrika Ashram, area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Shamya Prasha in Badrika Ashram, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. You go to Badrika Ashram now, I think there is the Vyasa Gufa still there. So now, because he was in Badrika Ashram, so the prayer which we chant before Bhagavatam, Narayanam Namaskritya. So the Narayanam is the Nar Narayan Rishi, who are residing in Badrika Ashram in forever. So That's why we first start with Narayanam Namaskritya. We offer our obeisances to the Lord, who is Naranarayan Rishi in Badrika Ashram. Why? Because Vyasadeva wrote the Bhagavatam in Badrika Ashram. That was where his ashram was. So he took his ablutions and he sat alone to concentrate. And then what happened? I'm going to read just the translation. The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to unseen force of time. So the great sages like Vyasadeva are liberated souls, and therefore they can see clearly past and future. Thus he could see the future anomalies in the Kali Yuga, and accordingly he made arrangement for the people in general so that they can execute a progressive life in this age which is full of darkness. The people in general in this age of Kali are too much interested in matter, which is temporary. Because of ignorance, they are unable to evaluate the assets of life and be enlightened in spiritual knowledge. So he could see the future. So then what did he do? The great sage who was fully equipped in knowledge could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of age. In fact, if you give a little thought, I think even you would have seen the deterioration from your time to our children's time. I think we all are witnesses to deterioration due to material contamination. When you look back at your childhood or your youth, how you were and how the children are now, there is so much deterioration because everything is so material. So material. We used to have, I'm sure all of us, I'm not saying just me, all of us had a lifestyle that if it was a birthday, we would first go to the temple. We would go out to play. Birthday parties would mean having family over and having food at home, not having things outside to eat. When I visited my party in Chennai and all, it used to be a great, maybe I should use the word sin if I was eating outside in restaurants. My party would never allow us to eat outside. It was always eat at home, never eat outside, which is true because it is, my party used to say, my party means my grandmother used to say that food outside is contaminated. And then any trip would be to visit family, not just a pleasure trip somewhere. And if it was a pleasure trip, it used to be to visit different temples. It was never to go and sit in a hotel, order food and just chill and not do anything else, watch TV the whole night or a movie. No. And we would play with our friends. When we would meet our friends, we would sit, we would talk, we would chat. But now even when children meet, they're all on their own phones, probably playing a game together, but on their own devices. So this is what? Deterioration. We have ourselves experienced the deterioration because of the influence of age. He could also see that the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus, he contemplated for the welfare of men in all statuses. Faithless people, again, from our time to now, if you look around, there are more faithless people. Of course, you cannot say that for yourself because you all are all in Sadhu Sangha. But I'm talking about outside your Sadhu Sangha group. There is an increase of faithless people. Even in my family, more and more people are faithless. And it is a matter of pride for them to say that we are atheistic. We don't believe in God. We only believe in our own endeavor, our own strength, and whatever we get is luck, whatever. I mean, I don't know what their thinking is. So faithless people have increased in the world. And it is also, we cannot blame because we allowed our culture to be deteriorated. We allowed Western culture to influence our own Indian Vedic culture. So we must be very careful not to allow Western culture influence. Of course, our children have grown up now. We can't do anything about it. But those who have young children probably can try. So Sri Vyasadeva could see all this in the future, and he has seen much more deterioration than what is now there. So he decided to do some welfare activity for us. So because of his transcendental vision, he could see the future, the fate of man, and he could see that people would be unfortunate. So therefore, what he decided to do was to give us the Bhagavatam. So we will read about this in detail next week. We'll stop here. Any questions? Okay, that's nice. No questions. Any realizations, any comments, anything you want to say?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
As usual, very informative class. I found each and every class something new I get to learn about our Vedas, Shastras. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That's
From
because
bottom
of
of my
Srila
heart.
Prabhupada's purports, which are so beautiful. Without him, I don't think we would be anywhere. It's all his glories. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, today I
Hare
joined
Krishna.
late.
Oh, you joined late. You missed a lot. Maybe you can ask someone to
Yes.
catch up.
Yes. Actually, my son's boards are going on. Yeah.
Oh, all the best. 12th board?
class. Yes, 12th class.
All the best, all the best.
So a bit tied up till at least 10th March.
10th March, is it? I thought 21st March, no?
From 24th of February, that is coming Friday, he has first paper.
Okay.
And then almost all 4 papers he has got PCM. So English, physics, chemistry, maths, all 4 are within a matter of 15 days. Very tight date sheet. So 10th I will be, till 10th I will be a bit tied up.
Good. Enjoy this time till the 10th,
Yes.
because this is the last time he is going to depend on you.
Yes.
Once he goes to college, he is not going to depend on you.
Yes.
So enjoy this time and pamper him, do all the things what you want to do for him, because ek baar college chale jate hai na, so then he's not going to depend on you.
So I'm taking off and on off also from school. So this is basically my first thing, these 15 days.
Good. All the best.
Thank
Sure,
you.
you do very well.
Your blessings. Thank you. And I just wanted to say one thing, that is, the more we read these shlokas and the more we see around, now the deterioration has become exponential. That is, last 2 years before what was, now it is worsened multifold.
Yes.
What 5 years was, within 5 years I have seen so much of deterioration. It's like going downhill so rapidly.
Absolutely.
So, and so now the only thing means always it was only thing, but now it more and more that what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kalir Harer Naam, was wahi sahara hai.
Imagine if you were seeing this in 2 years.
Yes.
And say by chance you don't finish your bhakti. You will go to Bhaumaswarg. And you will live there for 10,000 years, because that is the lifetime. 100 years there is 10,000 years here. And then when you come back, it will be 10,000 years later, where there will be no devotees, there will be no ISKCON, because we have only 9,500 years left for that. So you will come back after 10,000 years, and there will be nothing, and it will be so deteriorated that you will be selling your child to your neighbor for food, and you will buy your neighbor's child to cook him and eat.
My God, scary.
So do you want to come back?
No. I just want to go back.
Make this your last life. Do everything possible to get out of this.
This
material world,
kind
because
yes.
you are definitely going to go to Bhauma Swarga if you don't finish, and then you'll come back in 10,000 years. And then someone will kill you and eat you there because they're going to be cannibals.
Yes.
And if you read the 12th canto, there are a lot of predictions of the future in Kali Yuga. You can go through it. If you don't believe me, you can go through it.
May I 100%
So,
believe you, because the way we are looking at it,
So make everything possible to go back home in this lifetime.
yes.
And all you have to do is 16 rounds, 4 regulative principle, and Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, whatever you want. Even one book is fine, if not 3. That's fine. Because knowledge will come automatically once you start chanting nicely, regularly, without any offenses. So be very, very pakka. You should have this goal. There should be 2 visions you should have. One vision is you should see how Kali Yuga is deteriorating every day, every year, every time. And other vision is how you can be transcendental to all this and just hold on to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and pray to Sri Sri Radha Shyam that they take you in their service. And you will be out of here. You have to make this your last lifetime. All of you. And take me along when you go.
You take us along.
Mataji, you
Srila
have to take
Prabhupada.
You take us
Srila
along.
Prabhupada will take us. No worries.
Yes, only Guru can deliver.
Yes. Yes. Only gurus can. That's it. Anything else? Or shall we stop for today? Okay, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Acha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna everyone. See you all next week. Thank you for listening so nicely. Hare
Hare
Krishna.